Okay, so have you ever like thought about what would happen if
If what?
if organized pirate factions, like not just, individual pirates, but actual
Like real pirate factions?
yeah, existed?
Yeah, I've thought about that. It would
It
definitely.
would totally change things, right?
For sure.
And it's funny because something like that just happened
Really?
in my last tabletop RPG session.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we were exploring this archipelago.
Okay.
Supposedly, like, it was full of ancient artifacts and stuff.
Cool.
But it was also right in the middle of this huge power struggle
Oh!
between these two rival pirate factions.
Oh, that sounds cool.
It was really intense.
Mm-hmm.
So on one side, you had the Serpent's Fang,
Okay.
and they were brutal, like obsessed with ancient rituals. And they were like
Oh, no.
rumored to be messing around with blood magic.
Seriously?
Yeah, they want to like seize control of all these artifacts.
For what? What were they going to do?
To awaken some kind of forgotten power.
That's crazy.
Yeah, totally classic villain material.
Yeah.
But then there was the Order of the Azure Compass.
Okay.
And these guys were super different.
How so?
They were more like scholar pirates.
Really?
Yeah, they were all about preserving knowledge and artifacts.
Interesting.
They wanted to keep the Serpent's Fang from,
Unleashing stuff.
yeah, like unleashing something terrible on the world.
So it wasn't just about treasure then.
No, not at all.
It was like a conflict of like.
Ideologies.
Yeah.
Totally. And that's what made it so fun.
I bet.
We were constantly like having to choose who to help,
Right.
who to trust,
Yeah, yeah.
and knowing that every decision we made could change everything.
Wow.
It reminded me so much of this article I read on LitRPG Reads.
Okay.
It was written by Kira Mensa.
Oh, yeah.
It's all about like incorporating pirate factions into fantasy settings.
Oh, that's a good one. I remember reading that.
Yeah, Mensa, she really gets into how to make these groups feel real.
Yeah, not just like those, yes, the cookie cutter pirate stereotypes.
Exactly.
It's so important to go beyond the, eye patches and parrots
Totally.
and actually think about how these factions work.
Like who leads them? What are their goals?
Exactly.
Beyond just, getting rich.
Yeah, what kind of people would even join them?
Yeah. And the article gives these really cool examples,
Oh, like what?
like the Telic Voyagers.
Okay.
So they're less about plunder
Really?
and more about exploring.
Huh.
They're out there mapping uncharted waters looking for lost islands.
That's a cool twist.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
That's like a totally different take on the classic pirate
Yeah.
archetype.
Yeah. It really challenges the idea that they're all just,
Bloodthirsty looters.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine players joining them on these expeditions.
Right.
Deciphering old maps.
Yeah.
Maybe even uncovering some crazy ancient secrets.
Well, that would be so cool.
Totally.
And think about the dangers, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like facing all that in uncharted territory.
With these scholar pirates. It
Yeah.
would be amazing.
Yeah.
And then you've got groups like the Blade and Brine,
Okay.
and they're driven purely by revenge.
Oh, wow.
Maybe they were wronged by another faction,
Okay.
or they're seeking retribution for something that happened in the past.
So they're unpredictable
Totally.
and dangerous.
Super dangerous.
Yeah.
Which makes them perfect for throwing a wrench into the player's plan.
Right. Because they're not interested in, like, the usual things.
Like gold or territory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do you negotiate with them?
You can't.
Yeah.
They're fueled by pure vengeance.
That's a whole different challenge for players.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what the article emphasizes, like all these different motivations.
Yeah.
It creates this dynamic playing field.
For sure.
And then Mensa goes on to talk about sea lords.
Okay.
Those almost mythical figures who command huge fleets
Right. Right.
and control entire regions.
It would be easy to just make them the villains, but
Yeah.
the article suggests something way more interesting.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So much more.
Sea Lords could be so much more than
Oh,
just...
typical bad guys.
Yeah. What makes them cool is they could be really complex.
Right.
Like, take the charismatic smuggler king, for example.
Okay.
He's built an empire on the black market, smuggling, and a huge network of informants.
Like he's a criminal mastermind.
He is. But he's also super savvy.
And
Yeah.
he might even have like a weird sense of honor.
Yeah.
Like his own code.
Exactly. Even if it's not exactly lawful.
Right. And then the article talks about the retired privateer.
Okay.
This is someone who's trying to make up for the bad things they did.
Oh, wow.
Maybe they used to be ruthless,
Yeah.
but now they want to find redemption.
I love that.
Imagine the stories they could tell
Oh, yeah.
and the connections they have
Right.
and the internal struggle they're going through to leave their past behind.
It's like they're haunted by it.
They are. And that's what makes these Sea Lords so compelling.
Yeah. Yeah, they have baggage.
They do.
They have history.
Right.
That makes them way more interesting than just your typical pirate overlord.
Absolutely. And just think about the role-playing possibility.
Right.
Players might have to decide whether to trust this retired pirate.
Oh, yeah.
Deal with the moral implications of working with a smuggler.
Totally.
Maybe even try to help a Sea Lord find redemption.
That's amazing.
I know.
It's so cool.
And Mensa goes even further.
Does she?
She introduces figures like the Mystic Ocean Lord.
Whoa.
Imagine a Sea Lord who's not just powerful, but also connected to the ocean itself.
Like magically connected.
Maybe even wielding some kind of ancient magic.
That's insane.
Yeah. It's like they're a force of nature.
They are.
And that kind of figure could be a powerful ally.
Or a terrifying enemy.
Exactly. It raises the stakes beyond just typical pirate conflicts.
Yeah, you're talking about the fate of entire coastlines.
Maybe even the balance of the world's magic.
Right.
All hinging on the actions of these Sea Lords.
That's epic.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it all ties back to this idea that pirate factions, they can be so much more than just background noise.
In a fantasy world.
Yeah. They can be the driving force behind the story.
Huh.
The source of conflict, the key to unlocking ancient mysteries.
I like that.
Maybe even the unexpected allies in a fight against some greater evil.
It's all about how you present them, right?
It is. You can't just throw in a bunch of pirates with swords.
Yeah.
You have to craft these groups.
With depth.
With history.
Right.
With motivations that go beyond just loot.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where the article really shines.
I agree.
It gives you a whole new way of thinking about these factions.
It does.
And one of the most interesting things that Mensa explores is pirate politics.
Oh, pirate politics.
It's not all about cannons and cutlasses.
Right.
There's a whole world of intrigue going on beneath the surface.
Like what?
Alliances, betrayals, power plays.
Yeah.
It's like a game of chess.
But with much higher stakes.
Way higher.
So you have these factions fighting for control.
Of everything. Trade routes, resources, ports.
They want it all.
They do. And maybe even the favor of powerful patrons.
Oh, wow.
And these power dynamics, they're always shifting.
Always.
The article talks about how these factions might clash over, like...
Over what?
The discovery of a treasure island.
Okay.
Do they cooperate and share the wealth?
I don't know.
Or do they turn on each other?
Right.
Risk everything for a chance to claim it all?
That's intense.
It is. And these kinds of scenarios create so much tension.
They do.
And they force players to think about the consequences of their actions.
What do you mean?
Like, do they side with one faction and risk making an enemy of the other?
Okay.
Or do they try to play both sides?
Right.
You know, walk this dangerous tightrope of diplomacy and deception.
That's a tough choice.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so compelling from a player's perspective.
Yeah, you're not just fighting monsters or...
Completing quests.
Right. It's about navigating all these relationships.
Yeah.
And power dynamic.
Absolutely. Players have to think strategically.
Yeah.
Make choices that have a real impact on the world.
Exactly.
And Mensa doesn't stop there.
Really?
The article goes on to explore all sorts of ways that players can interact with these factions.
Beyond just fighting.
Beyond just fighting them.
Yeah.
You could have players infiltrating a pirate stronghold.
Okay.
Trying to steal information.
Yeah.
Or sabotage their operations.
Right.
Or maybe they're tasked with negotiating a truce.
Between
Warring factions.
Okay.
Try to prevent a war.
I love that.
It really shows that players don't have to be limited to just combat encounters.
Yeah. They can engage with these factions on so many different levels.
Totally. On a political level, a social level,
Right.
even on a personal level.
Yeah.
Maybe they end up becoming friends with a pirate captain,
Okay.
or they get caught up in a mutiny.
Oh, wow. The possibilities are endless.
They really are.
It's amazing.
And the article highlights how these interactions can have consequences.
What do you mean?
Like long-lasting consequences.
Okay.
Imagine players helping one faction come to power,
Yeah.
only to see them become tyrannical rulers later on.
That would be rough.
It would. Or maybe they make a deal with a Sea Lord,
Okay.
only to discover that they've been tricked
Into what?
into serving some evil agenda.
Oh, no.
It's a reminder that in a world with powerful factions,
Yeah.
every action can have a ripple effect,
Right.
shaping the fate of individuals, communities.
Like a butterfly effect.
It is.
Yeah.
And maybe even the entire world.
Wow.
And speaking of the world, one thing that really stood out to me in the article
What's that?
was how these factions could be world builders.
Yeah.
They're not just isolated groups.
Right.
They're part of the world's fabric.
Yeah, they influence everything.
They do. Trade routes, local politics, even the cultures of the regions they inhabit.
That's a really cool concept.
It is. Like Mensa mentions the Sapphire Isles,
Okay.
where you have these rival pirate factions locked in this power struggle.
Oh, no.
And it's spilling over, affecting the lives of the islanders, the stability of the region.
Wow.
It's even drawing in other nations.
That's crazy.
It creates this sense of a living world where events have consequences.
Right.
And those consequences, they impact everyone.
Not just the players.
Not just the player.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And those consequences can be huge.
Like what?
Think about the economic impact.
Of what?
Of a faction controlling vital trade routes.
Okay.
They could disrupt the flow of goods, manipulate prices, create shortages.
Yeah.
Or imagine a faction establishing a base in a remote region, displacing local populations.
Oh, wow.
Exploiting resources, changing the landscape.
That's intense.
The article talks about the Gilded Shoals.
Okay.
These are wealthy pirates who have established a trade monopoly in their region.
Okay.
That kind of economic dominance is going to create tension with other merchants.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Maybe even leading to economic warfare.
Or even open conflict.
Right. It's not just about pirates fighting each other anymore.
It's about
the impact they have on the entire world.
the whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And that impact can be both positive and negative.
What do you mean?
A pirate faction might be ruthless and exploitative.
Right.
But they could also be a source of innovation.
Oh.
They could introduce new technologies, form unexpected alliances.
Challenge corrupt regimes.
Exactly. It all depends on how they use their power.
And how players choose to interact with them.
I can't believe how deep this conversation has gotten already.
I know, right?
And we're just scratching the surface of what this article has to offer.
It's crazy how much depth you can add to a setting just by
adding
well-developed factions with their own motivations and agendas.
For sure. And that's where Mensa's article really excels.
It does.
It provides a framework for thinking about these factions in a whole new way.
It does.
It's been awesome exploring this with you.
Like,
it's making me rethink how I approach factions in my own games.
Me too.
It's not just about throwing in a few NPCs with a common goal.
Yeah.
It's about crafting groups that feel real.
Yeah.
That have a history.
Okay.
That impact the world around them.
Right.
And that offer players so many ways to interact with them.
I agree.
We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We have.
We've talked about the importance of creating compelling pirate factions.
Yeah.
Explored the idea of Sea Lords as more than just villains.
Okay.
And touched on the whole concept of pirate politics.
Yeah.
It's been a great discussion so far.
It has.
And I'm excited to delve even deeper into how to actually use these ideas in a campaign.
Me too.
We still have so much to unpack about pirate hideouts, naval combat.
Oh, yeah.
And how these factions change over time.
For sure.
But before we jump into part 2,
I
want to give a shout out to LitRPG Reads.
Absolutely.
And of course to Kira Mensa for the amazing article that started this whole conversation.
Yes. It's a fantastic article.
If you haven't checked it out yet, definitely head over to LitRPG Reads and give it a read.
It's a treasure trove of inspiration for GM.
For sure. But for now, let's leave our listeners with a question to think about.
Okay, I like it.
Imagine you're sailing the high seas.
Okay.
In a world dominated by powerful pirate factions.
All right.
What kind of reputation would you want to build for yourself among these groups?
That's a good question.
Would you want to be feared, respected, trusted?
Or something else entirely?
That's a great point. It really gets to the heart of how these factions can shape a player's choices and ultimately their destiny in the campaign world.
For sure.
Tell us what you think. Share your answers in the comments below.
Yeah, let us know.
And tell us what kind of legend you would forge among the pirates of the realm.
I can't wait to hear what people come up with.
Me too.
It's wild to think about all the different ways players might approach this.
Oh, yeah.
Like in a world full of pirate factions.
Totally.
Some players might just go full chaos,
Yeah.
playing the factions against each other.
Right. Just for their own gain.
Exactly. It's like there's a certain thrill to being the wild card.
I get that.
The one no one can predict.
Totally.
You could become like a master manipulator.
Okay.
Brokering deals, stirring up trouble.
Right.
Shaping the whole political scene to your advantage.
It's a high-stakes game, though.
It is. One wrong move.
Yeah.
And you've got multiple factions gunning for you.
That's true.
But for some players, that's the whole point.
The challenge.
Yeah. The risk of betrayal, staying one step ahead.
Right.
The thrill of pulling off a crazy scheme.
It's exciting.
It is. But then you've got those who want to play it more.
More honorably.
Yeah. Maybe they want to build a reputation on trust.
Okay.
Making alliances, working for the greater good.
That's a tough path, though.
It is. You got to earn the trust of pirates.
Yeah, which is not easy.
Not easy at all.
That's
Especially
right. When their loyalties are always changing.
Exactly. You'd have to prove yourself over and over again.
Yeah.
Show them you're reliable, that you'll keep your word.
Right.
But even then, things can get complicated.
What do you mean?
What happens when your allies' goals clash with your own morals?
That's a tough one.
It is. Or what if you have to choose between loyalty to the faction and doing what you think is right?
Oh, wow.
Those are the choices that really test a player's character.
It's not easy.
It's not. But building a reputation for being trustworthy, keeping your word, even in a world like that, I think that's incredibly rewarding.
It is. It shows that even in chaos, honor can still win out.
I like that. And you know, that kind of reputation, it can be just as powerful as any fleet or treasure.
Right.
The article even talks about how these factions become world builders.
Oh, yeah.
They're not just fighting amongst themselves.
Right.
They're shaping the societies they live in.
Totally. And Mensa gives some great examples of this, like the Scarborough Gulf.
Okay.
Where there's so much pirate activity that entire towns have had to relocate.
Seriously?
Yeah. It shows how these factions can cause upheaval.
Wow.
Creating refugees, messing up trade,
Right.
basically reshaping the map.
It's like they're a force of nature.
They are.
Huh.
And it reminds you that these conflicts have real consequences.
Yeah.
Imagine players coming across a ghost town,
Right.
abandoned because of pirates.
Oh, wow.
It would be a powerful image
It would.
showing the human cost of these power struggles.
Definitely.
And it opens up storytelling possibilities.
Like what?
Maybe the players decide to help the refugees,
Okay.
find them a new home,
Yeah.
maybe even strike back against the pirates who did this.
Right.
Or maybe they see an opportunity in all the chaos,
I mean,
use it to their advantage.
that's a possibility too.
It is.
Yeah.
Either way, it adds a layer of complexity to the campaign.
Yeah.
And the article also talks about the economic impact of these factions. It's not always about plunder and conquering.
Sometimes it's about
Resources, trade routes, the flow of wealth.
like the Gilded Shoals
Exactly. They've got this trade monopoly.
in their region.
Yeah.
Which gives them so much power,
It does.
but also a lot of responsibility.
And potential for conflict.
Oh, for sure.
Think about it from the player's perspective.
Okay.
Do they try to break the Gilded Shoals monopoly?
Like how?
Side with rival merchants.
Okay.
Maybe even start a rebellion.
Against the shoals.
Yeah. Or do they see a chance to get in on the action?
Ally with them.
Yeah, and get a cut of the profits.
That's a tough choice.
It is.
Yeah.
And what happens if the monopoly is broken?
What do you mean?
Prices skyrocket, shortages of essential
It
goods.
would be chaos.
Total chaos. A whole new set of problems for the players to deal with.
It's like a chain reaction.
It is. Every action has these unforeseen consequences.
And that's what makes a world with powerful factions.
So dynamic.
Yeah, unpredictable.
And the article even mentions a faction,
Which one?
the Moonraker Ridge.
Okay.
And they've developed these experimental flying ships.
Wait, what? Flying pirate ships?
Pirates in the sky.
That's amazing.
It completely changes everything.
And imagine.
Aerial raids, sky battles,
Wow.
maybe even floating pirate cities in the clouds.
It opens up so many possibilities.
Exploration for adventure.
Totally. And think about the tactical side of things.
Oh, yeah.
You're not just worried about defenses at sea level anymore.
You have to think about attacks from above.
Right.
Maybe even invest in anti-air weapons.
Or find allies with their own flying ships.
Exactly. It throws a wrench into traditional pirate warfare.
And what about the other factions?
Right. How would they react?
Do they try to get the technology for themselves?
Yeah.
Or do they team up to fight it?
Maybe they stick to their old ways and risk falling behind.
It's fascinating to think about.
It is. And it shows that these factions aren't static,
They're constantly changing,
adapting to new threats,
embracing new opportunities.
sometimes even transforming completely.
Yeah,
And a lot of that change is driven by player action.
exactly. The article makes it clear.
That factions are always in flux.
Yeah.
They might have leadership overthrows,
Yeah.
alliances breaking down, territory expanding,
They could even completely dissolve.
or merge with other groups.
It's a living system,
It is. And the players are right in the middle of it.
shaping everything.
Yeah, influencing how these factions evolve.
That's what makes it so cool for players.
They're not just exploring a static world.
Right.
They're actively shaping it.
With their choices.
Exactly. They can be the reason a faction rises to power.
Or the reason it falls apart.
It's a powerful feeling.
It is. It's not just about beating monsters or finishing quests.
It's about leaving your mark on the world.
Yeah, for better or worse.
And that's not even considering magic or the supernatural.
Right.
Which Mensa touches on in the article. You could have factions allied with sea monsters.
Okay.
Wielding ancient artifacts. Maybe even tapping into the power of the ocean itself.
Imagine a faction that can control the tides.
Yeah. Or summon storms.
That would be insane.
The stakes are so much higher than
It's not just pirate squabbles anymore.
No, you're talking about forces that could reshape entire coastlines.
Maybe even the global climate.
It's crazy.
It is. That's what makes this whole concept of pirate factions
So interesting.
so compelling. You start thinking about the possibilities.
The chain reaction.
The power dynamics.
And how one small change could have a massive impact.
Yeah, it's all about what makes a good story.
It is.
It's about building a world that feels alive,
Right.
where actions have consequences,
Right.
where factions clash and evolve,
Yeah.
and where players have the power to make choices that matter.
That's what it's all about.
And it's about stories that aren't just black and white,
Right.
good versus evil.
It's about those shades of gray.
Exactly. The complexities of morality,
Yeah.
the challenges of navigating a world.
Where even pirates might have their own code of honor.
Right.
Their own reasons for wanting power. Their own dreams for the future. You know, it's interesting how we tend to think of pirates as these forces of chaos, you know?
Yeah, like agents of disruption.
Exactly. But like we've been talking about,
Yeah.
they can also be these architects of change,
Right.
shaping the world in ways we don't always expect.
It's like their actions have these ripple effects.
Totally. And the consequence
Yeah, the unintended ones.
can create new opportunities.
Or even lead to their own downfall.
Like take the starbound quays that Mensa mentions.
Oh, yeah, those guys.
They're looking beyond just the horizon.
Right, they're seeking, like, celestial guidance.
Yeah, exploring cosmic connections.
It's like they're not just pirates.
Yeah.
They're like cosmic explorers.
Totally. Delving into the mysteries of the universe.
Maybe uncovering ancient secrets.
Or even making alliances with otherworldly beings.
It's wild. Even in a world of greed and violence,
Yeah.
there are those who seek something more. Something beyond just wealth and power.
And who knows what impact they might have.
Exactly. They could unlock forbidden knowledge.
Open up new pathways to other realms.
Discover the key to ultimate power.
It's amazing.
And those discoveries could change everything.
For everyone, not just the pirates.
Right. It shows that anyone can be a catalyst for change.
And that the world is full of surprises.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this whole topic so exciting.
For game masters,
Yeah, and for players too.
it's not just about creating a pirate-themed campaign.
No, it's about crafting a world that feels real.
Dynamic.
A world where pirates are more than meets the eye.
And where player choices have real weight.
Right. It's about embracing the unexpected.
Challenging assumption.
Pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
And Mensa's article does a great job of
What?
providing the tools and inspiration to do that.
I totally agree. This conversation's really got me thinking.
Me too.
I'm already brainstorming ways to use some of these ideas.
In your own campaigns.
Yeah. And don't forget,
What?
the article itself has tons of examples.
Oh,
Factions, sea lords, hideouts, even naval combat encounters.
it's a great resource.
A huge thanks to Kira Mensa
Yeah.
and LitRPG Reads.
And of course, Paul Bella.
Absolutely. But before we wrap things up,
Yeah.
we want to hear from you, our listeners.
Okay.
Imagine you're a player in this world
Okay.
where pirate factions are fighting for control.
Of the seas.
What role would you play in this whole power struggle?
Would you join a faction?
Carve out your own path.
Or maybe even try to bring peace?
It's a question that really gets to the heart of
Of what?
player agency, you know, and the endless possibilities.
That a well-crafted world can offer.
So tell us in the comments below
Yeah, we want to know.
what kind of story you would tell.
In a world ruled by pirates.
Until next time, everyone, happy gaming!